Sean Bentley.
What's up, Cowboys fam? It's your boy J Tuck, Cowboys Up. Like to welcome everyone back to another Cowboys fans only episode. So for all of you that's been familiar with the show, you guys know the drill. But guys, last week we had a surge. Yes, we had a surge. My first video went over 4,000 views. We had a jump in subscribers, so the subscribers are jumping. So for everyone that's new to the channel, first and foremost, I want to say welcome. But go ahead, comment, like, subscribe, somewhere down there. And before we get started, Cowboys fam, I want to say this. I definitely appreciate everyone for all the thoughts, the prayers, the well wishes, everybody on Twitter, Facebook, etc. Man, I deeply appreciate you guys for all your support. Everything's going good. So your boy is back, man. But today, I brought a friend of the show, man. I don't even call him like a guest anymore because he's like family member, man. My Shark Tooth brother, man. My guy Dave from the Cowboys Wire, man. What's going on, Dave?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. Hanging in there. How about yourself?
Hey, listen, I was doing well until we just watched the Washington football team beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we don't really know what just happened here, but that just happened.
Right, man. We were getting set up for the show, and he was like, man, Washington just beat the Steelers. I'm just like, all right, so here we go, man. So it looks like the NFC East does have some type of pulse, man. We saw what the Giants were able to do versus the Seahawks. We saw what Washington just did. So maybe, just maybe tomorrow night on Tuesday, we'll see us continue that trend, man. But I'm starting to think, nah. I just don't see it. We're going to dive into that, man. But Dave, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you before we dive in.
Yeah, you can find me as the host of one of three hosts of the Jersey Boys podcast. It's a New Jersey-based podcast. Three guys coming up in New Jersey, enemy territory. Be sure to check us out. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube. We're not as popular as you on YouTube. I got to ask you for some tips on that one. But we're definitely making some waves, and you can also find some of my writing on the Cowboys Wire on Twitter and Facebook and all sorts of stuff. And obviously, just like everybody else, I'm a diehard fan. So this is why it started. And I partnered up with comedian Brett Ernst. You can see him on Cobra Kai if you guys are into that show on Netflix.
I'm waiting on season 3, man.
Yeah, season three is right around the corner. He's excited. I'm excited. And of course, his brother Keith Ernst, who is our brainiac of the trio. He's got all the nuggets. He's the one who told me that by the Cowboys playing tomorrow night on a Tuesday, I think the Cowboys will be the first team in NFL history to play on every day of the week.
Yeah, one of those guys.
Yeah, one of those guys. Right.
One
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
those
Like one
guys.
of those,
Okay.
like, yeah, yeah.
So definitely check out him in the Starboys podcast, man. It's a great podcast, man. My guy Dave, he's hard working, man. He's everywhere. Also check out his articles that he's writing, man. He's very informative, and that's what we like to bring to this channel, some insight, man. So we mentioned it, man. Washington looks like they just won. The Giants won, beat the Seahawks. What is your thoughts on the NFC East and where the Cowboys currently stand? Are you Team Tank? I'm trying to gauge you. Are you Team Tank or are you continuing to fight for the division, man?
Don't you put that evil on me, bro. I am not Team Tank. I am, listen, if you are Team Tank, and I know there's people out there, there's guys even labeling themselves as the Tank Commanders out there.
Oh, they got a nickname now. Wow.
Oh, they got nicknames. I don't understand the mentality behind a tank. There is nothing in the NFL draft. I don't care what year it is, what prospects coming out, who's the next big thing. It doesn't matter. The draft is the draft for a reason. It's a draft. It's random. You don't know what you're getting. I don't care who you draft first. Look. Yes, have things panned out like a Joe Burrow? He looked great. Like a Justin Herbert? He looks good.
Right.
CeeDee Lamb? He looks great. We got him at 18. So let's not jump all over the fact that we might have a top 5 draft pick. Right now, guess what, Cowboy fans? You want a tank? It's not going to be a sexy pick next year. Okay. Right. It's going to be an offensive lineman, if anything. You know what I mean? So let's not go crazy over this pick. So no, I am not Team Tank. I am, if we win tomorrow, and we'll dive obviously into the Ravens, but if we win tomorrow, we're still one game out of first place. Right. And that January 3rd game looms large if we play out the way we should be playing out. Our schedule is favorable. So I've said it on my podcast last week that I think the Cowboys or whoever wins this division is probably going to win it at 7-9.
Right.
That's obtainable for the Cowboys.
Right. It really is. It really is. And guys, you got to understand, even if we do lose tomorrow, if we beat Cincy, then we still have the Eagles coming up, and we still have the Giants playing on January 3rd. So winning this division is still within reach. Now, if we come on this show, Dave, and we lose to the Bengals, then all right, man, let's get the mock drafts up or whatnot. I give up, man. It was a hard-fought season. I'm going to throw in the towel. But I feel like this team, there's these things where you see it, but it's just getting that consistency. We saw what happened versus the Vikings. I'm like, okay, now we're here. Now let's go. And then comes the Washington Thanksgiving game, and it's just like, all right, so we're going back to that. And a lot of questionable decisions that we spoke about after that game. I was very upset about Mike McCarthy and some of his play calling. So the last game when we saw them play the Washington football team, tell me what's your standpoint on this team and how you're feeling about just the team overall this season.
I guess you could say that like their best performance is the game you just mentioned. It was against the Vikings, and the glimmer of hope with that game is that we came off a bye.
Right.
Think about with the schedule being the shuffle the way it was this past week, where we're playing on a Tuesday, and we haven't played since Thanksgiving. That gives us almost 2 weeks off.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking the Cowboys are coming off another mini bye. So if you chalk up, how they played after a bye, you would think, okay, they're about to deliver a decent performance. And what do you need against a Ravens team? You need a little bit more than a decent performance. I think that they're high octane offense, and like I said, we'll dive into the specifics. But as a whole, I think that the Dallas Cowboys, for whatever reason, I can't. It's hard because after that Washington game, after those fake punts and the razzle dazzle and all sorts of crap, you would think like, what exactly is going through the mind of Mike McCarthy?
Right.
What is going through the mind of Kellen Moore or Bones Fossil when they say, you know what, now's a good time, let's do this, and then he's the head coach, so he has to say yes.
Right.
Everything goes through the head coach. I don't care who you are. You would think that some of these people online are like, I can't believe McCarthy, or I can't believe Kellen Moore called that. Right. Guess what, folks? It goes through that headset of McCarthy too.
Right, it does.
You know what I mean? So he has to approve this crap.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's been a weird year. Yes, I mean, obviously with COVID, it's been a weird year with everybody, but it's also been a astronomically bad year when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys and the injury bug. We don't have one starter on the offensive line. We don't have our commander, Dak Prescott. We don't have half of our secondary now is banged up and not playing in the Ravens game again. Mm-hmm. So it's like the injury bug has bit us time and time again. We found ourselves in a very bad situation fast, considering the record. However, you're playing in the NFC East, and now everything is still technically up for grabs.
Still up for grabs, man. And we're going to talk about these injuries. So I'm going to give everyone in the chat a huge shout out. Shouts out to my guy, the Lunatic, man. Go Cowboys. Brian, what's going on, bro? He says Cowboys staying in last. Yeah, currently. We're not beating the 49ers. We're not beating the Ravens. Have some hope. Have some hope, man. Shouts out to my brother Cody. He says we're not making the playoffs, Zach Martin. Cowboy fans, man, where is your fight, man? Where's your push? Where's your fandom, man? Is it just going out the window with this team? And like you've mentioned, Dave, there's been so many injuries, and it looks like, Donovan Wilson's going to be out on tomorrow's game. Also, Anthony Brown. And so as a Cowboys fan, I get it. Like, every time there's a glimpse of hope, we finally moved Zach Martin to right tackle. We've been preaching that for
right.
days on this channel. That finally happens. Then what happens? He goes down. And then also Cam Irving goes down. And then, Trayvon Diggs is starting to play well. He goes down. We get Donovan. Like, it's just something with this team. We're just very snake bitten. But even with that, Cowboys fan, I still feel like we have more than enough to still compete. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe it's just me being a Cowboys fan, and I really don't realize, the lack of talent that we currently have. But if you give me CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, these guys on offense, I feel like we can compete with any team in the NFL. And we did see it. Now, granted, Washington did just beat the Steelers, but we were able to compete with the Steelers with Garrett Gilbert. So it's there. It's just really putting the pieces together. That's why I'm still optimistic about this season. I'm not giving up. Check in with me after that Cincinnati game, fam. That's when we'll take a different thing. So, we mentioned these injuries, different things with Anthony Brown, Donovan Wilson. So it looks like Reggie Robinson still isn't going to get the full nod. Where do you stand when it comes to Reggie Robinson? I know a lot of, and also Bradley and I know a lot of Cowboys fans were excited to really want to see this rookie class, but there's these two guys that just has remained unseen. I want to get your thoughts on that.
My theory is or my question to the coaching staff is, why the hell did we draft him then?
Right.
Honestly, right. Why do we waste a pick if we're not even going to see what he has? And what they did to this kid, Robinson in particular, is that they literally changed his position before he can even step on the field. Mm-hmm. So, he's a cornerback by trade. We were riddled by the cornerback, but we decided to waste weeks and weeks and weeks on Worley before we shipped him out of town. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are asking not a lot from a guy like Robinson, all right, you coming in, you're a 4th round draft pick. It's one of those things where you just have to give it a shot. And same thing, I would say, not so much with Bradley and I, because you have your Alvin Smith, you have your DeMarcus Lawrence's, you have bull rushers on the outsides. He'll get his due, he'll get his time. But in a specific, category and position that we're struggling on the secondary, you're telling me that you don't have room for the guy? Right. Like, where is it? Where? And you even corrected me on Twitter. I had to delete my tweet because I felt like a moron. I was like, I saw Robinson real quick. I'm like, Reggie Robinson season. And I'm just like, not the right guy.
Because I was watching the game. I forgot I think it was Minnesota where I saw Robinson out there. And I was like, well, I thought he was inactive. So I'm excited. Like, okay, Reggie Robinson. So let me watch in. And they're like, Rashad Washington. I'm just like, what the hell is really like? The same
thing. I got so excited, and I was like, oh wow, I got the wrong guy.
The same thing kind of happened with Stephen Parker. Like, some of these guys, and it looks like they're going to elevate 2 other guys off the practice squad this week, and they said they're going to get some reps. So I don't know what the thing is with Reggie Robinson. Bradley and I can kind of understand, but the play that I saw from Bradley and I, he jumped off the screen instantly versus the Giants, and it was just like, okay, that was a great play, and that was it. So I feel like for a while, man, it's just going to take some time to get Reggie Robinson out there. But honestly, if I'm these guys, man, I'm just like, get me out of Dallas, man. Like, if you're not going to play me, you're going to bring guys out the practice squad ahead of me. Like, just cut me, bro. I'm sure someone will pick me up off the waivers. But we know the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to do that. So,
no.
There was a hot topic today, Dave, and we spoke about it early this morning because me and Dave, we're always on Twitter. We're active, so definitely follow us, man. And we spoke about this earlier this morning. So, it seems like Cowboys fans are upset that Jason Garrett is getting some credit for what the Giants are doing. Like, Cowboys fans do not want Jason Garrett to get any credit. It's all Joe Judge, right? Joe Judge is the head coach of the Giants. Got that right. I finally seen a picture of what the guy looks like for the first time today, and I had to Google it. But Let me ask you this. When it comes between Mike McCarthy and also Jason Garrett, do you feel like things would have been any different if Jason Garrett was the head coach right now, or it would have probably been the same predicament, or if not worse?
I don't think, based off the injuries that we've had as a team, I don't care. You would think that Mr. Conservative Jason Garrett would be. It's almost as if he would. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say, because I know you were saying it this morning, and I chimed in because I'm like, my dad made a good point. He's like, they show Jason Garrett on that sidelines more than they show Joe Judge,
Right.
and I'm like, yeah,
Right.
it's true,
I
because
tweeted
he's
this
the
out
guy.
early in this season. I was like, it's Jason Garrett. Like,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for that.
And when that team started off, and whatever they were, the slow start that the Giants had, you're right away thinking like, all right, is Garrett going to take this job over?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but here's the thing. With Jason Garrett, he was conservative. He wasn't flashy. I mean, last year, let's not be mistaken, the Cowboys had one of the best offenses in the league.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Jason Garrett was almost, and like I said this about Greg Williams of the Jets, who just got fired today. I said that Jason Garrett was almost like the fall guy. Like,
Right.
what are you going to do on a team on paper, what it looks like now, and you go 8-8, and that's with a healthy Dak Prescott, and that's with Zeke all 16 games. That's
Right.
with the offensive line there, So of course you have to make a move.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, I think the move was made prematurely, not prematurely, but the position of coach was chosen rather quickly.
Right.
Moments after Jason Garrett was out the door at the start, Mike McCarthy was being introduced.
Right.
The extensive search never really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy basically told the Joneses, I've been off a year. I did all this analytic stuff. You're going to love it.
Analytics.
And bring me in. I know what I'm doing. You give me that roster, because look, let's call it how it is. The roster that McCarthy inherited, when they were healthy, was more talented than any Packer team he's ever had.
Thank you. Right.
Any. And I'm like, okay, so this is a good situation. You got Mike McCarthy, but then you question it. How come Mike McCarthy can only win one Super Bowl with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time?
Right.
So then you start to question, like, and I have a lot of people on the inside with the Packers and a lot of Packer fans that I know, and they're like, you're going to hate this guy very quickly. And I'm just like, no, he's going to be he's the new face. Like, let's do this. And here I am, 12, 13 weeks into the NFL season. I'm not calling for his head per se, but I'm holding him pretty responsible for that Redskin Washington football team loss.
Right.
Pretty damn responsible for coaching. And I know that, Kellen Moore is the boy wonder, but I'm telling you right now, nothing gets past McCarthy as far as play calling. So he agreed to all that garbage we saw on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. And like I've been telling guys on this channel, for me, it was really that Browns game where I sat back and thought, all right, man, what did we really just buy? Like, I felt like when we were going to bring Mike McCarthy in, he was going to excel and take this team to that next level. But there was just this questionable coaching decisions. I mean, even if you go back to the first Rams game, because I tell people, if Jason Garrett was the head coach of the Cowboys, we win that first game against the Rams. He takes the field goal.
Possible.
Defense is playing great. Dak Prescott or whatnot. I feel like we win that game. I feel like Jason Garrett wins the Browns game as well. I feel like he doesn't win the Atlanta game, but I feel like he beats Cleveland. Right. But I feel like there's just so many decisions that Mike McCarthy has been planting these seeds over and over and over. And on Thanksgiving Day, it finally just blew up in our face to think, like, what the hell was that? I mean, because even if you go back to that Browns game, when Dak Prescott roared back in the fourth quarter, we decided to do another watermelon kick and give Cleveland the field position again. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And so I started to sit back and just think, all right, man, what did we really buy? And my question I've been asking people for weeks, if Kellen Moore is the play caller, right, we do have Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator or whatnot, and for a while it felt like Mike McCarthy was losing his team as far as the camaraderie and not getting them to lead and really buy in, then what value does Mike McCarthy bring to the Dallas Cowboys as a head coach? Like, you have to be able to, because offensively, as you mentioned, under Jason Garrett, we were perfectly fine. Offensive wasn't our struggles last year. Now, there's questionable decisions in certain circumstances that we had, but our offense was effective last year. But I felt like Mike McCarthy is going to bring accountability, just this different attitude, this lunch pail attitude when it comes to Dallas Cowboys football, and I haven't seen that. So here's what everyone says, Tuck. let Mike McCarthy get his guys. Let him bring in some of his guys. Well, if we're going to do that, we should have got a college coach. We should have got a Lincoln Riley if we were going to blow up this roster and do a full overhaul. Jerry Jones brought in Mike McCarthy to get this team over the 8-8 hump. And actually, we backtracked drastically to compare to what we're going to be. So I'm going to give Mike McCarthy the injury excuse just to be nice, guys, just to be nice. But even when we were semi-healthy, I still didn't see it in Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a fake punt, for instance, that was honestly, like, other than the butt fumble with Sanchez, I don't think there's a more comical play in the history of Thanksgiving Day football. I think it's that bad.
Right.
I truly believe that, like I said, Mike McCarthy, when he came in, yeah, he's the new face and everybody's excited about it. But what he did was he brought in a bunch of fossils, if you think about it, and I'm not just talking about Bones fossil. I'm talking about the fact that Mike Nolan and Tom Sula and guys that were like, remember when they were good.
Right.
Let's call it how it is. Mike Nolan was the linebackers coach for the Saints last year.
Right.
That's all he was doing.
Right.
He wasn't renowned. He wasn't Eric Bieniemy all of a sudden lighting up scoreboards, so he's the first guy in line for a big time job. He was just a linebackers coach, and that's not taking credit away from linebackers coaches because they do a lot of stuff too. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they could have had anybody. They could have. They literally could have did some more research and put together a better coaching staff. When they let Mike McCarthy pick his staff and retain Kellen Moore, you would think, okay, then the offense can't go backwards, right? You would think that they're going to stay status quo, if not better. And they were playing better football, but the only way you can play better football is if better play calls are called.
Right.
You can't just sit there and say, we got Gallup, we got Lamb, we got Cooper, we got Jarwin, and then Jarwin goes down. We got Dalton Schultz, don't worry about it.
Right.
And we got Dak Prescott, we got Ezekiel Elliott. Here's the difference between Mike McCarthy now and Jason Garrett now. What you just saw Jason Garrett do against the Seattle Seahawks was play not to lose.
Right.
And that is what we chased him out of town for. Why aren't you aggressive, Jason? Why aren't you calling these types of plays? You're the reason why we're losing games. He had Colt McCoy at quarterback. He had Wayne Gallman as his running back, and they just went in and handled the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
Jason Garrett called that game. Jason Garrett made sure that he said, all right, look, Colt McCoy's not going to let up any scoreboards. Gallman isn't the greatest running back, but he's serviceable.
Right.
Think about the positions. All right, choose one. Andy Dalton, before you see the season on paper, if somebody handed you a sheet of paper and said, you have Andy Dalton or you have Colt McCoy, who do you want?
Andy Dalton.
Right. You have Ezekiel Elliott or you have Wayne Gallman, who do you want?
Ezekiel Elliott.
If you have the entire Cowboys receiving core or the entire receiving core of the Giants, who do you want?
Right. The Cowboys roster. That's why I was trying to explain on Twitter to everyone.
That's the problem. That's the problem. You have the roster. Why aren't you using it?
Right. The Cowboys have the roster. Now, granted, the Giants defense has been playing stellar, but if you go down their roster compared to what the Cowboys have on defense, the Cowboys defensively still has a more talented roster. I don't care what any... You can't convince me any otherwise. Now, granted, they're just playing better, but I feel like on the defensive side of the ball, we lost Leighton Vander Esch for a little bit, Sean Lee, we lost Tristan Hill, and then we lost McCoy kind of, before the season started. But for the most part, a lot of those core guys that were there last year has been on that side of the ball this season, and they've taken a drastic step back, man. So I feel like it's coaching. And as the head coach, you have to be responsible for the guys that you brought in. You fired an entire coaching staff and brought your guys in. That accountability has to fall on Mike McCarthy's shoulders.
I think there's a problem when I firmly believe the Cowboys are behind this theory that since we paid this guy a certain amount of dollars, he needs to be in the game.
Right.
Ezekiel Elliott is obviously having a little bit of an issue this year, this year, putting the ball on the carpet. And Tony Pollard, when he's not returning kicks because he stinks at that, when he's running the football and he's playing running back, he's effective, right? But it's almost like, we can't put him in too much. Zeke Elliott's making $90 million.
Right.
The same thing goes for a guy, and I've been ragging on him for literally 12 weeks in a row on the defensive side of the ball, and that's Jalen Smith.
Right.
If you look back on my tweets, you would think that, I hate this guy personally. You know what I mean? But I really don't. In fact, he did a cameo for my brother for his birthday. So, shout out to Jalen Smith. He was my favorite player on the team. But I see effort problems. I see angle problems. It's almost if if obviously you remember this, how much did everybody love Roy Williams,
Right.
the safety?
Right.
Not the
Yeah,
receiver.
not the receiver. No, no, no.
No,
Yeah.
the safety. He used to lay the wood. He used to hurt people. He broke T.O.'s leg. You know what I'm saying? This
Right.
guy was a baller. But if you threw the ball at him, what happened? He took the wrong angle every time.
Santana Moss.
He
Santana.
oh my God. Yeah, exactly. And then who threw that ball? Mark Brunell.
Right.
Like, are you kidding? So this is what I'm saying. Like Jalen Smith, for whatever reason, has regressed. And again, he got paid. So it's hard for the Cowboys organization because I know that Jerry has a hand in that depth chart. I know it. Everybody
Right.
knows it.
Right.
What's to stop them from putting in a Justin March, who I love, or
Right.
more Joe Thomas, or more guys that were playing at an exceptional level instead of Jalen Smith? And like I said, do what the Eagles just did. You're paying Carson Wentz $1 trillion,
Right.
and you just benched him. You
Right.
literally said you're not going in anymore. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, so do that. At least make that. He always talks about Jalen talks about a clear-eyed view. Well, guess
Right.
what? The only way you get your clear-eyed view is if you sit on the bench. You grab some bench and you watch everybody and you learn the system and you get back to better basics and technique because he's not showing it. He's not showing it at all.
Right. And that's where I got sold on Mike McCarthy. Like I said, I thought that would be the standard in Dallas moving forward. Like, hey, you're not performing. I don't care who you are. I want the best guys out there on the field. But there's something in Dallas where, hey, I got the money, man, so I'm going to play regardless. And I always go back to DeMarcus Lawrence. I think it was 2 years ago when we brought in Robert Quinn. They're like, are you worried about, Robert Quinn taking more snaps away from him? He's like, I make too much damn money. That was out of his mouth. Like, yeah. And that's the mindset in Dallas.
Not misquoted.
Yeah,
that's not misquoted.
Yeah. So let's go to the chat real quick, man. On Stevie Mack, he says, I get that COVID messed things up, but it's no excuse. These absolutely terrible decisions, coaching that happened all year long. Better to just move on already at least and get the new offensive defensive coordinators. That's what I'm saying. Like, people are like, let's see Mike McCarthy with a full, healthy Dallas Cowboys roster, but that doesn't change this decision making. Like that is in decision making, time management. These are coaching skills that some coaches do lack. And so maybe with Mike McCarthy, it's just not the case. So we shall see. So let's go on. This has also been a hot topic button. So granted, we have the 3 wide receivers that we mentioned. More than likely, we're not going to be able to keep all 3. Now, we know CeeDee Lamb's going to be a lot because he's on a rookie deal. So if it's up to you, Dave, are you keeping Cooper or are you keeping Gallup?
Well, Cooper just signed a new deal too. So, I mean, if you think about it, they're all kind of locked in for the next 3 at the very least. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, gun to my head, who am I taking? I think you could find, like, right now you see a lot of CeeDee Lamb stuff coming out of the slot, but I think he's big enough, fast enough, and runs good enough routes to be on the outside. I think he could be a number 1 anywhere.
Right.
So if you take him and you just leave Gallup where he is, basically saying you're the number 2,
right?
Then I can do without Cooper.
Okay.
The problem is Cooper's so young too, man. Right. You know what I mean? Like, these 3 are so young and they got him locked up for at least the next couple of years. You just got to get Dak back and then let him cook, man. These are the guys that you put in place. Jerry Jones wasn't about to have the Randy Moss thing happen again.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he had CeeDee Lamb fall in his lap. He was like, damn, no way is this happening again.
Because he could have failed within the division. Imagine how that would be. Granted, the Eagles don't have a quarterback to give him the ball, but
right.
You're right.
Right. But I'm saying, like, that's what I mean. Like, all 3 of these guys are locked up. I wouldn't even debate this until it's necessary, because they just signed Cooper to the 4-year deal, or I'm sorry, 5-year deal for $100 million. They just got CeeDee Lamb on a 5-year, rookie deal, or 4-year, whatever it works out to be. And I think Gallup isn't up until, I think, 2 years from now.
Right.
So you have your core system in place. You just need to keep Dak Prescott once he comes back, because he is going to come back and he is going to resign. He's going to sign his long-term deal.
Well, yeah, let me get your thoughts on that. So you think that Dak gets the long-term next year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because look at this team without him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is a little bit better situation than 2015. Romo goes down. We got Whedon. We got Matt Castle. We got all these journeymen coming in here saying, I can win, coach, I promise. And then they can't. Right. And then the Cowboys go 4-12 and you draft Zeke the next year. So it's a different story. But I think Dak Prescott, he's showing you, A, his value by being off the field. But B, I mean, dude, look at the team and how it gravitates to this guy. I'm wearing a shirt that says faith.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's merchandise out there for this guy. There's foundations. He's just an overall good dude, and I think those kinds of guys are hard to come by.
Right.
So what are you going to do if you don't re-sign Dak Prescott? First of all, the franchise tag is out of the question when it comes to salary cap because that's going down.
Right.
Because of COVID, there's a lot of lost revenue, and the salary cap will be going down. You cannot afford Dak Prescott on a franchise tag again. And look what it just did for the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he bet on himself, he broke his foot, ankle, whatever. You know what I mean? So, but I firmly believe because of the way the season is playing out, just think about this, Tuck. And I know it's in your mind too, because it's in our mind on the Jersey Boys podcast. If we had, I know that you don't like to play the ifs games, but if we had Dak Prescott this year, the way it shook out, there wouldn't even be a debate. We would be winning this division by 2-3 games at this point right now.
Clearly,
we beat the Eagles, we beat the Steelers, we beat the Browns, or we already that was Dak. But those close games that we're like, I can't believe we don't have a quarterback.
Right.
We beat the Skins the first time. Like, we win games with Dak Prescott. I don't care how they've been playing with him in the beginning of the year. I know the watermelon kick game. Obviously Dak's boosted his stats because we've been playing from behind a lot. But remember how the defense started to take a turn for the better towards the middle of the season, and the defense started playing better. Imagine having a healthy Dak Prescott with a defense that's surging. You'd be winning games.
Exactly.
And there'd be no debate. So that's knowing that that means he's valuable, means he's, worth everything that we're about to pay him.
Right. And I just hope that egos don't collide and they do franchise tag this kid. And the reason why I say the Cowboys cannot franchise tag, going on to with everything that you mentioned, though, it would be a PR nightmare for Jerry Jones to have to explain after everything that happened, Dak's story, the whole sports genre was in tears over Dak Prescott, and then you come out and you franchise tag him again. Jerry Jones does not want that PR nightmare. So hopefully they come to terms on a long-term deal and bring Dak Prescott back, because I feel like that's the missing piece. And I've been telling people, like, don't beat your chest now because we're playing with Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci. Beat your chest when you play us with Dak Prescott and then see how things go. Like, everybody's real confident right now. The NFC least and Cowboys suck. Well, we'll do that when I have my quarterback. Keep that same energy. So we'll definitely see. So you mentioned about the 2015 season transition into Zeke. So let's say, for instance, we get in the top 4, top 5 range for the draft. What do you think the Cowboys' biggest need is from the draft?
Well, to be honest with you, you're going to have to look at the health of Tyron Smith. I mean, a big tree fall hard. You know what I mean? Like, this monster, every time he gets hurt and he's out for a while.
Right.
You have to look at the offensive line. Everything else seems to be in place on that offensive line. Collins will come back next year. And then, you have a Joe Looney that can play multiple positions. You have Tyler to play center. They're in lockstep with what they want to do. I think, you're seeing a lot out of some of these guys that are getting a chance to play, except for the turnstile known as Terrence Steele.
Right.
I think that the Cowboys obviously need to forget about the offense. If they don't get Sewell, is it Sewell, the tackle, the first tackle?
Penny Sewell from Oregon.
Sewell, yeah. So if they don't get their hands on him, which they probably won't, if they're not in the top 3, they won't. Right. They have to just tune out offense in this draft. Don't even think about drafting any more offense. You go and you get a Patrick Surtain Jr. or a cornerback that can help, because look at what we're doing again. Right. Trayvon Diggs just started to come on, gets hurt. Everybody, once we drop, and it was very similar to the 2015 season, when that quarterback dropped, they had no answer. Right. When our cornerbacks drop, we have no answer. Right. And there's going to be a lot of guys coming up on contract years. Right. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to address that. You're going to have to talk to Jordan Lewis. You're going to have to talk to, Cheetah Bay. You know what I mean? These guys, they're not going to be here forever. So you're going to have to get younger. And I think what you do is you take a cornerback. And I know everybody's like, we need a safety. We get it.
Right. We'll get there too.
What Cowboy fans have failed to understand is Jerry and Steven think we already have 15 safeties on the roster, so we're not going to go get them anyway.
Right. We got Thompson, guys. Relax. What are you talking about? Thompson, and we got Xavier Woods getting the big contract.
I do like Wilson though.
Yeah, I like Wilson as well, man. So like I said, missing him for tomorrow's game. I'm like, all right, well, another gut punch, man. So here we go. But it's like these two players, Thompson and you mentioned Terrence Steele, that Cowboys Nation been trying, like they just politely push out the door, man. But for some reason, they just
Why?
keep.
Why was it so easy? Why was it so easy to get rid of Everson Griffin and Don Terry Poe?
I
But you
don't
want to toss
know
these
because
guys?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they were the sacrificial lambs for some reason. It's like, okay, Everson Griffin, let's get rid of him, trade him. Don Terry Poe, Darryl Worley, like those were the easy ones. But for some reason, Terrence Steele just holds on, and then also Thompson holds on, man. So when you think they're gone, they're always back in the lineup. So we'll definitely see. So tomorrow's game, Tuesday Night Football, and as you mentioned, we played every day of the week, I guess, as a Cowboys Nation. That is what we do. So what are your keys to victory? Now, when I was typing this up, I was just like, just win the damn game. But let me get your keys to victory. So the first one that I have, of course, is stop the run. But at this point, man, I just don't know what it is when it comes to this Dallas Cowboys defense and it comes to stopping the run. I feel like anyone who has some type of two legs can run this defense right now, but we have to be able to maintain the run and also contain Lamar Jackson. I sure you agree, but what's your thoughts? What can our defense really do to stop the momentum of the Baltimore Ravens offense?
Well, I think this is like a very similar situation to what the Broncos were in last night. Like how do you beat Patrick Mahomes? Don't let him on the field.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what they had a lot. Like there was a lot of when you say stop the run. I obviously wholeheartedly agree with that because we can't stop the run if our lives dependent on it.
Right.
But I think that if you win the time of possession battle, and you don't, I hate to say this, but use the Giants formula. Don't make mistakes.
Right.
Like, don't make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. Don't go for it on fourth down too early. Like, like just being aggressive. We don't need that right now. The Baltimore Ravens are reeling. Okay. They're not the team they were last year. They're not. I mean, and, obviously they have a phenomenal running game when Lamar Jackson's in there and J.K. Dobbins is coming on. And don't forget about Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. They got the world. I feel like they have like 5 running backs on their depth chart that are capable running backs of running all over us. Their receivers aren't that great. And then, segue into the return of our boy, Des Bryant.
Oh, man.
And listen, I've already made the prediction. It is a foregone conclusion. If there are player props somewhere on like DraftKings, put the mortgage on the fact that Des Bryant will score his first touchdown back tomorrow. It's going to happen. It's
going to happen. And
it's
Cowboys,
almost guaranteed.
I told you, Cowboys Nation, you need to get mentally prepared for seeing Des Bryant beast his way into the end zone and throwing up the X. It's going to happen. So get mentally prepared.
I'm just glad this game's in Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
If he did that shit in Dallas, I'd be like, this sucks.
So it was the Thursday night football game when we played the Saints, and I was actually at that game. That was supposed to have been Dez's return before he had the injury. And I tell you, man, seeing Saints fans with 88 Des Bryant jerseys, it hurt, man. It hurt. It's kind of like seeing like that your girlfriend that got away like with some other kids. Like, what are you doing? It's just like. But Des Bryant was coming back on a mission, and so I feel like tomorrow, man, Des is going to have a big day. So let me ask you this question: which 88 has a bigger day tomorrow?
Well, it's funny you say that because I think the only way the Cowboys stay in this game is that they have 3-step dropbacks and fire that ball into CeeDee Lamb. Now, I think CeeDee Lamb in the slot will be very, very effective. That's the way you get down the field. You've seen this guy with Yak. You've seen this guy take hits over the middle. This dude is an absolute stud from the slot. And like I said before, he probably could be any team's number one.
Oh, right.
I think that CeeDee Lamb has the better statistical game. I think that, like I said, Amari Cooper, we're still waiting a word of what Jimmy Smith is going to do with the Ravens. The cornerback there, he's a very, serviceable cornerback that can lock one of our guys down.
Right.
I think that if they just protect Andy Dalton enough, not like don't give him 8 seconds to throw, just give him like 4 or 3. Let stuff develop. And I think that the first option that Dalton is going to see is our 88 flashing over the middle of the field, because then you have your linebackers and like other people are trying to cover him, and he's just going to cause mismatches all day. Des Bryant, on the other hand, think about it. Like he's worked with some of these corners already in practice. You know what I mean? Like not most of them, but just a couple of them. He knows the defense. Yes, it has changed since with Mike Nolan and everything like that, but he knows There's something about the Cowboys that, and I've said this plenty of times to my brother and like other fans of the team that I know. It's almost as if people get giddy when they play the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
If you realize when the Vikings went up late with Adam Thielen, they were high fiving and
Right.
just fist pumping and all sorts of crap, thinking they were going to win the game.
Right.
I firmly believe there's going to be, and without giving out a prediction or whatever, I firmly believe there's going to be a final possession for Andy Dalton to do his thing.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. In Cowboys Nation, I've always said this. We can never be any team's trap game. Because even when we're horrible, they just want to beat the Cowboys. Like if we're horrible and we're down on our luck, teams are just want to rub it in, man. Like people get fired up to play us, so we can never really be a trap game. So yeah, I expect. I don't know, man, because every time I feel like this Cowboys team's going to show some fight, they let me down, and it's just like I just can't get a grasp on them, which goes to my last point of view. Find an identity, man. Like, I really don't know what this Cowboys team is. Like, I'm not sure if we're an aerial attack. It seems like the running game is no longer when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott and Mike McCarthy. So let me ask you this question, bro. Do you think that the 25, 30 carry Ezekiel Elliott, that's going to be no more under the Mike McCarthy regime? Because we talked about when the time possession, what Jason Garrett, because Jason Garrett, he would have been feeding the ball to Zeke 25, 30 times, like, without Dak Prescott, and it is what it is. But I feel like Mike McCarthy will not commit to the run game. So do you think those days have passed here in Dallas?
Unfortunately, I mean, if you go back and look at Mike McCarthy's history with his running backs in Green Bay, they were non-existent. They were non-existent. You had guys that were good. Your Amon Greens, he had Aaron Jones in there for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's had running backs. He just almost like doesn't know how to use them, if that makes any sense.
Right.
When Zeke was getting that ball, remember there was a stat last year or whatever. If Zeke doesn't touch the ball 20 times, they don't win.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like you have to keep possession. You got to keep Lamar off the field. And the only way to do that is to grind and don't just give up on it.
Right.
Like if the first series we go 3 and out because we ran twice and somebody dropped the ball, don't say like, the run's not going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so early. There's so much football to be played. They can't abandon the run. Even if they get down tomorrow, they cannot abandon the fact that they have to be on the field because that's the only way you're stopping Lamar Jackson is if he's off the field.
Right.
And it's just poetic how all of a sudden, the NFL arranged it in a way where he can clear COVID protocols and now he's back. You know what I mean? We were inches away from, what was his name? Trace McSorley?
McSorley?
We were inches away from him. I'm at work today and I get the alert like, activated off the. I'm like, of course he is.
The Ravens Twitter tweeted, Lamar's back. Like, we only pushed the game back 7 months for it to happen. So the Broncos had to play with me at quarterback, and that was perfectly fine. But when it comes to the Ravens, like, we can do a Tuesday night, whatever works.
What about the fact that Jerry compared the two?
Right. Oh yeah. Right. So Ben DiNucci, like Jerry.
I was like, please, just this is why I wish he wouldn't just talk. Like, just don't talk anymore.
That's never going to happen. As long as Jerry has a pulse, man, he's always going to be talking, saying something, man. So let's hop in the chat, man. Shouts out to my guy Jim Swartz. He's an Eagles fan, man. But here's the thing: they can't say much. They can't say much anymore, man. You're going to talk about Carson Wentz. Lamar is about to run for 200 against y'all, probably. Let's see here. Gallup really misses Dak. He just hasn't been the same guy. Yeah, I feel like with all the wide receivers, I mean, Cooper is just a magician when it comes to getting open. So I feel like he really hasn't had much of a setback without missing Dak Prescott. But I feel like for CeeDee Lamb and also Michael Gallup, like they just really missed Dak Prescott because, granted, Justin Jefferson kind of taken the Rookie of the Year thing and ran with it. But I feel like if we did have Dak, that was easily CeeDee's trophy. So my guy Nix, man, I'm probably going to have to owe you some wings because I had CeeDee getting more yards than Cooper this year, but it is what it is. So our O-line just needs to run block like their lives depending on it, and we should have an effective run game. Yeah, I feel like the O-line, they started getting some momentum, but I feel like, just like you said, Dave, it's like the O-line will get some momentum, we'll get some few runs, working our few favors, and then one play gets blown up in the backfield, and then they're like, all right, scrap it. Scrap the run. Like, that's not going to work. It's just committing with it, using Ezekiel Elliott at different looks, and also Tony Pollard, man. I feel like we have a dynamic too. And see what the Browns have been doing thus far. Like, there's so many teams utilizing their dual running backs, but for some reason, Mike McCarthy doesn't want to commit to it. But for Zeke, man, to be honest with you, the fumbling has to stop. Like, it's just
I think he's in his own head. I said it last week on another podcast. I think he's honestly in his own head. No Dak Prescott. The first thing out of reporters' mouths the day Dak Prescott went down was like, "You have to be the leader."
Right.
And he's like, "Oh shit!"
You know what
I mean? Like,
right.
just almost panic mode. Like, I don't want to. What? What do you mean? You know? And like, it's not saying he doesn't want to be a leader and he's not bred to be a leader, because I think he is. But it's almost as if, don't put that pressure on that kid like that. Like, that's just. You don't do it. You're not the quarterback of the team. Name another running back that leads his team except for, like, I don't know, Derrick Henry.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if that offense clicks as Derrick Henry goes, this is the same thing, but we don't have a quarterback.
Right. And I agree, man. But I thought, coming out of the bye week, he would get out of his head, and he played good against the Vikings. But it seemed like it's always like it's like these little fumbles. He's trying to do a little, just too much. Like
that last extra.
Yeah, that last extra, and I think that's what it comes down to. He's pressing a lot. He feels like, all right, man, I'm finally getting the ball. I got to make something happen because I might not get it again. And he's just rushing things. So I feel like Zeke needs to settle down. It's okay, bro. Relax, but just protect the ball. Live to see another down, but the turnovers have to stop. I personally been beating the table for a lot more Tony Pollard, but it feels like, it's always this weird dynamic when it comes to our running back. And I'll tell you, the one thing that ticks me off when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott, you have a big play. Okay, great, Zeke. Great first down. And then he takes himself out. I'm just like,
yeah, you see him do the motion. You see him do this motion like, I need a blow. And I'm like, what? What happened to the first down and get back in the huddle?
Feed me went to relieve me, man. I'm just like, what's going on with Zeke? So
he needs to redo his tat if that's the case.
Yeah, man. So like, that's the one thing that's really, really like frustrating me with Ezekiel Elliott, man. But it happens, man. Even you gotta think about the sophomore season for Dak Prescott when Zeke went out, man. Dak felt like he had to do too much. He was pressing a lot. It takes some time to kind of get accustomed to life without each other, man. Life with not in the perfect circumstances. Your O-line shifty, your quarterback's out. Like, okay. So you're starting to get that treatment. But when you're getting paid that money, man, you got to step up and find a way. So you can't find those excuses. Just Schwartz needs to get rid of that tattoo. He hasn't done nothing. We only seen that tattoo. That was the first game, right? Against the Rams when he showed the belly tat, and we ain't seen it since, man. The lunatic, do you want Dalton? No. Zeke leads the league in fumbles, and the Ravens defense leads the league in forced fumbles. Great combo. Yeah, amazing combo, man. I cannot wait. Well, Dave, I'm not going to keep you too much longer tonight, but you said there's going to be a close game tomorrow. Andy Dalton last possession. What's your prediction? Does Andy Dalton come through with that last possession? And,
I've been saying this like this. The Cowboys defense is going to have to hold Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to 21 points.
Okay.
I will give the Ravens 21 points, 3 touchdowns, 3 separate drives, maybe like every third drive they score a touchdown or something like that. And all of a sudden you have 21 points on the one side. Now, what do I think the Cowboys are going to do? We're going to be screaming our heads off the entire game. We're going to get down the field, kick a lot of field goals. We're going to kick 2-3 field goals throughout the course of the game. We'll score 2 touchdowns, right? We'll score 2 touchdowns. One goes to CeeDee Lamb, one goes to Zeke. And I think look how like detailed I'm getting with this.
Right, yeah, you're breaking it down. He's breaking it down, man.
I played this entire thing in my head already. I think that the Andy Dalton will get the ball back with 3 minutes and change left, and he'll get it down to about the 35-yard line. We'll kick a field goal and we'll win the game. We're going to get out of Baltimore 23-21. We win.
I'll take that. Now, I'm not as confident as Dave is, y'all, because I don't know what I'm watching when I watch the Dallas Cowboys, man. I'm not sure if the Cowboys from the Steelers and the Vikings game are going to show up, or I'm not going to know if the guys from the Thanksgiving Day Massacre is going to show up. But like, I just really don't know. But I feel like we can compete with the Baltimore Ravens, man. I feel like we can make this a competitive game if our defense does what you just mentioned and we protect the ball. And our coach stops making these bonehead dumb decisions, because I felt like on that Thanksgiving Day game, Mike McCarthy really stole that from this team. And that was the frustrating part, because this team was fighting. It was a back and forth game. And I felt like after that fake punt, everyone's like, man, this is some BS. Like, I'm done, bro. Like, get me home.
He and that coaching staff, and my dad said it best. I think he thinks they think collectively that they're the smartest people in the room.
Right.
That everything that they're going to say, nobody sees coming.
Right.
And guess what? 31 other teams will see it coming.
Right. And then you
You're
sit back.
You're not a magician.
Right.
Like, just stop.
And then you just sit back and say in the presser, "Damned if you do, damned if you don't." Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can't work if we don't execute. Like, stop. Stop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. One quick thing before I let you go, though, I forgot to ask you this. So, how does the Dallas Cowboys season ends up, and who wins this division?
The way I could see this playing out is if they do in fact go to Baltimore and win, you got yourself a 4-8 team. Then they have the following schedule. I believe Cincinnati. You got to get that win, or unless me and you are gonna fucking join hands at the bridge and jump.
Yeah, let's go.
But then you get the 5-8 like that, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, then come the 49ers. I think.
Yeah.
They can drop that game, and for whatever reason, and I'm watching it in the background with the Bills. I mean, the Niners aren't very special right now. Nick Mullins isn't nothing, whatever.
Right.
We can win the game, but let's just say we drop it.
Right.
We go to 5-9, and then we control our own destiny based off of what the Giants do throughout the next course of the next couple of weeks. We're going to be able to control our own stuff, beat the Eagles in Dallas to jump to 6-9, and then that game on January 3rd in New York. Either if we're 6-9 at the time, and even if the Giants are 7-8, we win that game, we win the division.
Right.
So a 7-9 division title, I'm still sticking to it. I don't know if I sound delusional to some, I'm sure I do, but I think that this Cowboys team, I think they got a gut punch again on Thanksgiving. I think that Mike McCarthy kind of looks and feels foolish.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is definitely he's in his own head as well. He doesn't want this first season coming back to look like the dumbest guy in the block.
Right.
So I think that the game is more conservative tomorrow, and going forward, you're going to see some flash. You're going to see some reverses. You're going to see some screens that nobody likes to see, but they're just part of the game plan.
Right.
As long as we don't see any more disgusting, despicable calls on our own side of the field, I think the Dallas Cowboys with Andy Dalton, remember, and Andy Dalton knows that AFC North, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's 8-8 career against the Ravens. So I feel like Andy Dalton knows that team. Andy Dalton's a serviceable backup. You paid the guy what you paid him for that reason.
Right.
And I think Andy Dalton, not even kidding you, is the best quarterback in the NFC East right now. And that's on top of Carson Wentz. I'm telling you right now, that's on top of Carson Wentz. I've never seen a man fall from grace like Carson Wentz in my life.
Right.
But I digress. I'll talk crap against Philly when we play Philly.
Right.
But I'm just saying, Andy Dalton is a serviceable journeyman quarterback who knows how to win football games. And I think he's in a position to win, not win out, but at least win, 4 of the next 5 games.
Right. I'm with you, man. Like, I feel like we have an opportunity to win tomorrow, possibly. But if not, it really is going to come down to that Eagles game and then also that Giants game at the end of the year. Now, let's say, for instance, the Giants or Washington football team gets on a run, then, I'm out. And like I said, also, if they lose,
it is what it is. You can't control that.
Right. You can't control that. You can't control that. But, and also if we lose to Cincinnati, then I'm out. But I feel like the Cowboys fan continue to compete. And I'll say this for 2 reasons. Why, as a Cowboys fan, I want the playoffs, right? One, you get some of these young guys some playoff experience. There's a possibility of Diggs returning back, CeeDee Lamb or whatnot. Granted, it'll just be a home game at Jerry's World, but it's a playoff game. It's a playoff game. So you give them that experience. But here's my thinking, Cowboys fam, and shouts out to me and my guy, Nick. This is the train that we're starting here today. If we can get to the playoffs January, there's been the conversation of possibly creating an NFL bubble for just the playoffs due to COVID, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe some of the delays or whatnot can maybe push these games to maybe February-ish. And we all saw Dak Prescott walking without crutches, took those 3 steps. So maybe,
I thought I was the only psychopath that said that Dak Prescott could be ready by mid-January. But
we lost to Aaron Rodgers on one leg, so I'll take a one-legged Dak Prescott in the playoffs, man. Give me that, and then we can get this thing rolling, man. But what a story if Dak Prescott was to come back mid-February and lead us to a few playoff wins, man. But hey, we're supposed to dream, man. But Dave, my guy, I appreciate you for coming on. Go ahead once again, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, man. I'm at Dave Sturchio, which I believe is on the video right now. That's on my Twitter. I'm always interactive with other Cowboys fans, and sometimes I'll splash in some other, crazy little tidbits that I find out. But My baby is the Jersey Boys podcast. You can find us at Jersey Boys Pod on Twitter. Instagram is Jersey Boys Podcast. But we drop episodes literally the day after a win or a loss, which obviously has been a lot more losing than winning lately. But
Right.
we do drop it. We drop preview episodes. We have a fantasy draft. We do our weekly pick 'em. It's a fun show. It's a comedic Dallas Cowboy podcast with a lot of knowledge behind it. So definitely check us out. And of course, Tuck, man, everything that you went through last week. The sun's shining now. We got some Cowboys football tomorrow on a random Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it.
Yeah, it feels good, man. And I keep telling Cowboys fans this as well, man. Football season is coming down to an end, and we have to go through those dark days where we're like, oh, I can't wait till football starts. I can't wait till football starts. So even if it's bad, man, just appreciate it because it's a long haul going all the way from January to get until September, man. So it's like, you know what? Let's just enjoy this Cowboys fam. Hopefully the Cowboys can get on a run and install this thing on out. I'm not quitting yet. I'm not quitting yet. Yeah, I'm not giving up yet, man. So I appreciate everyone in the chat. Once again, man, I appreciate all the support, Cowboys Nation, personally, and also on the channel. We are growing at a rapid rate. And also go ahead, comment, like, subscribe. Cowboys fans only. Follow me on Twitter at jtuck151. And also go to cowboysfansonly.com to get your CFO merch, man. I appreciate all the support and the love. Like I said, we're growing. Things are getting bigger for the channel, man. I'm tremendously excited, man. So we're going to keep the ball rolling. And hopefully we come back with the Cowboys win. So I appreciate you guys, man. Like I said, for joining in. Everyone stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. And let's go Cowboys. Let's win.